name is Regan and today I'm going to talk to you about a project we've been working on to reimagine student orientation. Our design brief is to reimagine the student orientation experience at Ball State University using a transmedia student-led approach that can be replicated at other schools. So we did background research with students and professors, and we came up with our problem statement, which is when students new to Ball State enter the college environment, they need help finding friends and the social groups that are right for them. So I'll show you the background of how we got there. We found four main groups of key findings. This first main group is social key findings. Some of the things related to social key findings are meeting people and making friends is integral to a good orientation experience. People also said that orientation should help them find where they belong socially on campus, which includes student organizations and clubs and things like that. And students also disliked icebreakers and activities that force them to interact. So it's really, they want to make friends, but they want it to be a natural experience. The second major group of key findings we found is that learning something new and learning how to succeed in a new environment was important. They found that meetings, lectures, and other busy work, which were meant to teach them something, were actually just boring and they were very interested in them. And the current modes of disseminating information to the students should be replaced. So this is really about like getting rid of the lectures, the keynote speakers, the flyers, the papers, and all those things that they bombard students with very quickly and make it a more engaging experience. And the third, which is the largest section, is time and navigation. So under time and navigation, we found that students really enjoy taking their time in a new orientation or just a new environment in general, but during orientation, they want it shorter. And they also would like to choose their own schedule. They'd like to be able to move at their own pace. The second part of time and navigation, because there's quite a bit, they'd like to be able to pick their own orientation groups, and they'd like those orientation groups to be very small, because currently there's like a dozen to 20 students. They have nothing in common except for their last name. It's usually just the first letter of their last name. They're just kind of lumped together and thrown out there with the one orientation leader. And they also want those, speaking of, they also want it to be based on interest and like to be able to relate on some level with the people in their group. And the fourth key finding group that we found was these fun or stress findings, which the participants said that they wanted a fun, engaging, and interesting orientation experience. They wanted stress-relieving activities and outside entertainment. This involved things like bringing in the animal shelter to bring puppies so like the students can play with them, or having other local organizations come by so that they can learn about the town while also just having a lot of fun with these activities. So the design solutions that we came up with, these are things that we need to have in the final version and things that we cannot include at all. Some things we came up with were it needs to allow students to move at their own pace, have better ways of meeting people, and help students find where they belong socially and physically on campus. It needs to have some type of stress relieving activity. It needs to have fun and engaging group activities in a shorter length of time. And what it absolutely, totally cannot ever have is icebreakers, lectures, or unnecessary flyers. So from that, we took these two students at Ball State and we asked them to make a prototype of what they think that would look like. And then we had two of our main responses here that we worked from. On the left, there is a survey. So this individual, who is currently a senior at Ball State, said that she would have liked to have some kind of survey when she came to Ball State that said, these are the things I'm interested in and how to find people to go to orientation with who have those similar interests. So there's, hobbies, there's your major, and then she also broke it down into, do you like large or small groups? Do you like to talk in groups? Do you like icebreakers? Things like that. Because everyone's different, it's really to personalize the experience of each student. And the second one here is an app that another student made. And for her, she broke it up into 4 sections, and 2 of these sections, which you see on the left here, are resource pages. So the one at the top is mostly for parents, so that parents have a place to go and that they can learn about orientation. And then the one here is for freshmen. So there's a chat function so that freshmen can talk to each other and they can talk to current students and get information and feedback there and learn about campus. And then there's a schedule function where they can just see their class schedule for the week. And there's also the resources that most freshmen would need, like the freshman reader, Blackboard, and other things like that. And then her last 2 pages he created were a map that had geolocation, so they could find their place on campus at all times if they ever got lost. So instead of having that paper map that they're given and have to follow that all the time, they could keep this with them for a longer period than orientation in case they got lost on campus. And then the final page is another survey like that, but like slightly different concept, but it's still coming back to that finding your interest group through some type of like survey or profile or something online, so you don't have to meet face-to-face for it. So we took those prototypes and we made our final prototype. And throughout this, going through our final prototype, we're going to be following this average user persona. This is Samantha. Samantha is an 18-year-old freshman at Ball State. This is her first time at college, and she just graduated from high school. She wants to make new friends in college and wants to know about the student organizations because she doesn't know anyone here, and this is an entirely new experience for her. So when Samantha is going through our orientation, there's 2 parts. There's a physical and a digital space. They are not done one after the other, but they work together. We're going to talk about the physical space first. So the physical space here is a scavenger hunt activity. The scavenger hunt activity is hands-on and engaging because you have to complete activities throughout the scavenger hunt. So how it works is your scavenger or your orientation group is given a location. You can pick it together from the drop-down location. You can't just come up with a time like 10 p.m. at Scotty's. So you have to actually have a place on campus and a time that works for orientation, and then you go to this location and you're given an activity to do. And once at least one of you has completed that activity, you swipe your student ID card and you get a hint, and that'll take you to your next, or lead you to your next scavenger hunt location. These hints are fairly simple for freshmen to use. We tested them on users and for a range of users from freshmen to grad students, and they all were able to finish it fairly quickly, which is actually what we want because it takes up to 15 minutes to get across campus, so you don't want this to take all day. Like having a shorter orientation time is important as well. So we are also getting rid of student orientation leaders by just having these groups go by themselves throughout this experience, but we are still keeping someone that they can talk to. One of the responses was to our testing was that we don't want to completely get rid of orientation leaders because it's nice to have someone to talk to who knows about campus, who knows about Muncie, and ask them questions that you either don't want to ask like a professor or you just aren't very comfortable looking for or can't find the answer to. So we need to have someone there, and so we will have activity leaders, which are actually related to the building that you're in. So for example, if you see up there, if they went to the rec center, they could possibly have like the basketball team be there and you could talk to them, or you could talk to the coach or something like that, and they'd have an activity for you to do that's related to that building. And for the group that completes the scavenger hunt in the shortest amount of time, there is a prize of $1,000 scholarship off your first semester at Ball State. And we found this to not be a ridiculous thing to offer, since Ball State does actually offer a full scholarship for the first semester for someone who makes a free throw in the basketball court once a year. So it's not a ridiculous thing to offer people. And then Samantha and her group will also have this digital space to help them on through their process. This is the landing page of the digital space. It is a mobile-ready website, but it is not an app, so it's not something you actually have to download. You can just have it on your phone or computer. This first page is the map, so this will help you get around campus. And every time that you check in at one of these locations, it'll pop up at the bottom and tell you that you've done that one, and it'll also pop up as a red building on the map so that you don't backtrack, and it just helps them keep on track as they're going through. And they can also search this so they don't have to keep running around campus trying to find a building. Some of the hints do require some creative ways of figuring them out. While they don't require talking to people, it is a suggestion for it, so we're not going to force interaction. But for something like find the financial aid office, it's not the name of the building. You'd have to either ask someone or look it up. You'd have to do some type of other thing other than just like looking at the name of the building to figure out how to move on from there. So the second page of the website is My Group. My Group shows you the group members who are with you and a little bit about them, so it's kind of a profile. Samantha's group members are Rebecca, Jason, and Dana, and they all have, they're all biology or nursing majors, so they're all related there. They have hobbies in common, and you can see like their pictures so that you know who they are. So it's a bit of safety there too, so that you're more comfortable meeting in person if you know who these people are and what they look like. And then the third page is that resource page. There's the chat function. The chat function from earlier, but you can only talk to your group members, so there's no unsolicited talking there. It's just the 4 or 5 of you, depending on what group size you choose, and you can talk here. And it also allows you to have that kind of that selected interaction again. That's really important. And then on the left side, there's the resources. So there's like check my application, self-service banner, which is the financial side of things, email, Blackboard, which has to do with classes, Betty Link, which has to do with student organizations. So it's really like everything that a freshman would need, including the freshman common reader, which is a big part of orientation. And it just kind of brings it all together, because on the current website, these are not together. These are in several different locations. And the last section is the profile. The profile has that survey, like I mentioned earlier, with a little bit about you that you can fill out. And there's also your profile that you can fill out. So here's Samantha at the end with her nursing major and where she went to high school, where she's from, things like that, and she can fill out her hobbies here. So what to do next? We did test that prototype on a collection of students at Ball State, and see these are some of the things that they suggested that we do and that we're going to look into moving forward. So they wanted some type of integration with social media like Facebook or Instagram. One individual did point that out, so that they could have like maybe a more in-depth social media interaction. It's also a little safer that way, because then you really know who you're talking to if they have like a history of a social media account. I did mention the orientation leader. They don't want to completely get rid of it, so they do want some type of analog for that. They don't want to be led around, but they want that knowledge. So having those activity leaders, and then we also want to work with those programs that are part of the building. So if they go to AJ for the activity, they have the art and the journalism programs to talk to and find the best activity leaders for those things. And then the incentives. A couple people pointed out that even with that incentive, introverted students might not be incentivized to actually complete the scavenger hunt. So we need to rework those moving forward to make sure that every student has the ability to do this and that they all feel comfortable in this environment, even though it is not mandatory. So thank you.